So the advisory council on hearing aids meeting is convening at, is convening at 9:09 a.m. on October 13th, 2023 at the Oregon Health Licensing Office in Salem, Oregon. By telephone conference call, I will call, actually by Teams meeting, I will call the roll. Doug Welsh.
Yay, I'm here.
Lorraine Inquist. Todd Williams.
Here.
Vladimir Gutierrez.
Yes, I'm here.
Chelsea Montgomery.
Present.
Peggy Kelly.
Present.
And David Levy. All right, so I will read this part too. Members, when you wish to speak, please state your last name for the record. Board members are asked not to use the chat feature during meetings. Public members wishing to speak must first sign in at the roster sheet available. For public members on MS Teams, please call Carrie Edwards and provide your first and last name. Public and interested parties' feedback may be heard during public interested feedback period if indicated on the agenda. Everyone is asked to use appropriate language, manners, and protocols when conducting board business. This meeting is called to order. So, since the first thing we have on our agenda is the call, it was the call to order, and then we have the items for board action and the approval of the agenda. So if everybody's had a chance to look at that, if we could get a motion to approve that agenda or discussion.
I move to approve. This is Chelsea.
Second. Peggy Kelly.
I just totally lost my roll. All right, I'll call roll for the chair. Doug Welsh.
Present.
Or excuse me, I call for the vote. Doug Welsh.
Yes.
Okay. Todd Williams.
Yes, I'm sorry. Somebody keeps muting my mic, but I'll keep it unmuted or.
Dear.
Yes.
Chelsea Montgomery.
Aye.
And Peggy Kelly.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that's so moved. So we have a new board member, Peggy Kelly. I'll let her introduce herself, and and then we'll go around and let everybody introduce themselves. We had a little music there, interlude.
Right, thanks. I'm Peggy Kelly. I'm a pediatric otolaryngologist practicing at St. Vincent's Hospital in Portland, Oregon. I was recently moved back home. I was 22 years at Children's Hospital, Colorado, in Denver, Colorado, and am happy to be home again to Oregon.
All right. Do we want to just go? I'm an echo. So maybe I'll just go down the. And everybody let.
Krampus, you're echoing. You're echoing again.
Yeah, I hear that. I'm moving.
I believe it's Todd.
Okay. Yeah, still a little bit. I'll try to. Doug Welsh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I was thinking you could just go ahead and introduce yourself to Peggy, and she's the new member.
Okay. Welcome, Peggy. My name is Doug Welsh. I'm a hearing instrument specialist in the Eugene area. I also work at Florence, Oregon. And I've been doing this for approximately 20 years. And I'm actually chairman right now of the advisory council and have been proctoring for the state of Oregon for quite some time. So I enjoy it very much. So enjoy the career and welcome.
Todd?
Good morning. I'm Todd Williams. I'm also a new member starting today. I've been licensed hearing instrument specialist since 2008, I believe, and I've owned Accurate Hearing Center since 2010. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
Sorry about that, Todd.
Todd, where are you located?
I'm in Portland.
Vlad?
I have been practicing since 2003. I am co-founder of Mount Hood Hearing in Portland, Oregon. Very excited to be part of the board. I welcome the new members. And yeah, looking forward to this meeting today.
And Chelsea?
Hi guys, I'm an audiologist practicing in Bend and Redmond. Been in the area about 4 years and came up from Florida where I was working at the VA and did my graduate school at University of South Florida.
Well, my name is Champashek. I'm the interim regulatory manager, and I've been with the office for about 15 years. And the director, Robert Bothwell, interim director, is not in today, and licensing manager Tina Russell, you may have some contact with her at some point throughout this process. She's also not in the office today, but yeah, so we have a couple of other staff. We have our AAG attorney, Heather Vogelsong, is on the line as well.
Hi, everyone. My name is Heather Vogelsong. I work with the Department of Justice and assist HLO with a variety of programs and boards that it has. Welcome, everyone, and welcome to the new members.
And I also guess this would be a better time to do it than later on. We have had a little bit of a change. I wanted to provide this information out. We have Carrie Edwards on the line as well today. The Health Licensing Office has had a temporary staffing change to our board specialist role. You may have been familiar with April Fleming as our point of contact for the board meeting coordination and logistics. April will be out of the office for an undetermined amount of time, and our staff member, Carrie Edwards, has graciously offered to step in and assist. Carrie may be contacting all of you to determine quorum for meetings, provide you with the latest version of the board meeting materials, and notify you of board meeting changes or cancellations. Carrie's contact information is carrie.edwards@oha.oregon.gov, and her phone number here is 503-373-1902. I believe this might also be in the meeting materials as well. Information. Did you want to introduce yourself, Carrie?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. I'm sure you saw my email this morning with the updates. But yeah, so Carrie Edwards, I am also, my regular roles are on the education side. So I'm also the individual that assists the proctors in the office with administering the HAS practical or the hearing aid practical. So I do that and I grade it and I help out up front as well. So licensing and education is my regular role, but I'll be helping out here for a while. So nice to see you all.
All right. So moving right along for now. I think the next thing on the agenda is the approval of the 2024 meeting dates. So if everybody has had a chance to see that material, the council has to approve the 2024 meeting dates, times and dates. The Health Licensing Office is proposing March 29th, 2024 at 9 a.m. and October 11th, 2024 also at 9 a.m. So if that seems to work for this group right now, you know, there can be some discussion, or there can be somebody who wants to make a motion.
I move to approve the dates. This is Chelsea.
I have a question regarding it. On the first date for March, was it March 29th?
Right.
That's a Friday of Portland Public Schools spring break, and probably going to be conflicting with vacation time. Is this going to be an in-person meeting or a Teams meeting like this?
It would be a team.
Then that'd be fine. Thank you.
We could also switch it to a week before or after if the office is available, if that works better for you, Todd. I'm sure better to spend vacationing.
Well, it's just that when my son's on vacation, I'm stay-at-home dad day. So if it's a Teams thing, it's no problem.
So we have somebody that made a motion to approve these dates.
I move to approve the dates.
So does that second for Vlad?
Second, Peggy Kelly.
Okay, I will call the roll. Doug Welsh,
Yay, present.
Todd Williams,
Yes.
Vlad Pierce.
Present.
Yay. I'll just need a yay or a nay.
Yay.
Okay. Chelsea Montgomery
Yay.
and Peggy Kelly.
Yay.
All right. Moving along. So every year, the board has to approve the chair and also a vice chair. So I'll read this background discussion on this, and so we know what everybody can hear it. Doug Welsh has served as chair, and Lorraine Herniquez. I'm not sure exactly.
Enriquez?
Enrique has served as vice chair for the advisory council on hearing aids during 2023. The board must nominate an elected chair and vice chair for 2024. Role of the chair in the board meeting. So this just goes over the role of the board meeting chair, and basically they officially call the meeting to order, keep the order, impose necessary restrictions for the efficient and orderly conduct of the meeting, direct the flow of the meeting, and ensure the meeting is conducted in a professional manner. Officially enter and exit executive session, officially adjourn the meeting. Role of the chair outside the meeting is to collaborate with the director regarding the board budget. The director may contact the chair and discuss the board budget regarding revenue, expenditures, and possible fee changes. assist generating meeting agendas. The board specialists and analysts may contact the chair to discuss the agenda for the upcoming meeting. The chair may also be asked to comment on topics that will be discussed in the format of the meeting in which the topic should be presented at the meeting. Role of the vice chair. The vice chair must assume the responsibilities of the chair if there is absence or if the chair is no longer a member of the board. So right now, what we need to do is we need to take nominations for the chair for 2024. I believe that Doug is eligible to be the chair as well for 2024. And I believe that Lorraine would also be able to be the chair for 2024 if people want to leave it the same, or if people want to change those things up, they can also nominate other people. So I'll leave it to the board to discuss.
I move to leave it the same.
I second that move, Gutierrez.
Who moved?
Kelly, sorry.
Kelly? Okay, all right. Is there any discussion about that?
No, thank you. This is Doug.
All right, well, then I will call roll. Doug Welsh?
Present.
I think you'll have to vote Aaron. Did you, Doug?
Yeah, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Yeah, we're about. I was asking for your vote.
I would say yay.
Okay. Todd Williams. You were muted. I'm sorry, Todd.
Yay.
All right. And Vladimir Gutierrez.
Yay.
Chelsea Montgomery.
Yay.
And Peggy Kelly.
Yay.
All right. So it looks like the next item on the agenda is 2024 practical exam dates. So the office, the licensing office administers a final practical examination required for individuals to obtain licensure in Oregon as a hearing aid specialist. The examination is administered quarterly at the health licensing office in Salem, Oregon. So you'll see an examination schedule for 2024 in the meeting materials. If you don't have access, I'll read those out so everybody can know what they are. So there's two columns. The first one will be the deadline to apply will be December 6th, 2023 for an examination date of January 8th, 2024. The second quarter examination will be, the deadline to apply for it will be March 6th, 2024. The examination date will be April 6th, 2024. The third quarter examination will be, the deadline to apply for that will be June 5th, 2024. And the actual examination will be on July 8th, 2024. And then the fourth quarter deadline for applying will be September 4th, 2024. And the examination date will be October 7th, 2024. So those will be the proposed dates for the hearing aid specialist 2024 practical examinations. If there's, I don't know if there's any discussion about that. If there's not, then we just need a motion and a second.
Move to approve. Todd Williams.
This is Chelsea. I had a question for it. I noticed that they're all Mondays. Is there any possibility to have one that's a different day in case somebody had a conflict that would make a different day easier?
This is Doug. May I make a misstatement, please?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so we actually moved it to Monday because it used to be, I believe, a Thursday at one point, and it was interfering with a lot of work, home issues. So we moved it to a Monday where they can actually study and have some downtime before the test. So, and I kind of did a vote on it, and Monday was actually really good for all these people. So it would be nice to leave it Mondays, but if you want to do one or two, switch it. We probably need some heads up prior to the test.
This is Chelsea. As long as it hasn't been an issue for people taking the test in the past, if they have said that Monday's a better day, works for me. Just wanted to confirm.
Awesome.
And this is Carrie Edwards. The other reason why we switched it is because we are the only testing site in Oregon. So anybody that has to travel is able to stay overnight and not miss 2 days of work versus just 1 day of work, if that makes sense.
Sounds good. I second the motion to approve. This is Chelsea.
Well, I'll call the roll for the vote. Doug Welsh.
Yay.
Yay.
Present.
Todd Williams.
Yay.
Vladimir Gutierrez.
Yay.
Chelsea Montgomery.
Yay.
And Peggy Kelly.
Yay.
All right. Okay, so that is all of the, I think, items for board action at this point. We're going to go into reports. So I will go over that. We have a recruitment and council, kind of a council member recruitment report here. The Advisory Council on Hearing Aids is made up of 7 members, including 4 hearing aid specialists, 1 audiologist, 1, I'm not sure how to say this, otolaryngologist, thank you, and 1 consumer member. Members are appointed by the Governor's Office of Executive Appointments based on qualifications set forth in Oregon Revised Statute. Experience and demographics to ensure the accurate representation of the profession in the state of Oregon. Recruitment process. The Oregon Health Licensing Offices utilizes licensees, database, interested parties, and contact lists, press releases, and professional community standard outreach to fill council member positions. Applicants are reviewed by the Governor's Office monthly, and qualified candidates are notified of their appointment status. So currently our council membership has Doug Welsh. He is in his 2nd term. Current term expiration is 9/30/2026. And after that, he will not be able to reappoint. Lorraine Henriquez, I'm sorry, Lorraine Henriquez. 1st term, which ends on January 27th, 2024, and she can reappoint. We got Todd Williams, hearing aid specialist, 1st term, July 31st, 2027. We'll be able to reappoint after that. Vladimir Gutierrez, 1st term, 4/30/2027, can reappoint. Chelsea Montgomery, 1st term, 6/29/2026, can reappoint. And we got Peggy Kelly, 1st term, 7/31/2027, and can reappoint. And we got David Levy, who is his current was going to expire on 3/28/2027, but has resigned. So the recent recruitment, the last round of recommendations was sent to the Governor's Office Executive Appointments on July 5th, 2023 to fill hearing aid specialist vacancies. And the Governor's Office completed the appointment of Todd Williams and Peggy Kelly. So that is kind of what's going on. We'll probably be recruiting for a consumer member at some point here. So, what there is to know about that. So we have the licensing and fiscal statistical reports. So first one is licenses issued. This is issued by quarter. So these are, you can see that it kind of goes up and down over the, but it goes anywhere from 10 to 24 licenses that are being issued per quarter. So the next slide is licenses renewed. What we're actually really seeing here is a good representation of the difference between licensee people that are licensing on paper versus online. So, for example, this last quarter, 48 people renewed online and 6 renewed by paper. So that's a good direction to be in. It's always easier, less paper, less waste, and more efficiency. So licenses by age and gender. So it's, you know, it's roughly, it's a little leaning male profession, but you have kind of a nice bell curve here with about 5 people in the 18 to 25 group, and a couple of people in the one person in the 82 to 89, and 6 in the 74 to 81. So, but you've got a lot of people in the middle right now. So, licensing trends. This graph does look like it's going up a lot, but just because we're just looking at the little top of it, it actually is only going between 219 and 225. So it's actually relatively stable. And there's a couple of more than there today than there was in the first quarter of 2022. But for the most part, that's only like a couple. So it's been pretty steady for permanent.
Trampus?
Yeah.
I'm going to be fixing that graph so it's a little more, not legible, but a little more accurate visually. So just to let you know.
Thank you, Nate. That was Nate. That is our technology expert here at the Health License Office. He runs all these reports and also manages our kind of database and all of the stuff that we have, technology that we have going on, keeping this place running. So hearing aid specialist temporary. So at any given time, looks like there's between 14 and basically 20. These are averages. So it's kind of hard to say how, that's why you have a 0.5 sometimes in there. It's just an average of, they kind of take that whole quarter and how many people had a license active on any given day and then average that out. So, you know, at any given time, we have between 14 and 19. And it looks like, you know, around the first quarter, we had about 19 and of 2022, and in 2024, we have about the same. So it's pretty steady. Not a lot of variation for temporary. Trainee was trainee has licenses have looks like they've gone up quite a bit actually, or they were just really low in the beginning of 2024, because over the course of the last couple of years they've doubled. So yeah, at least for this time frame. So quite a few trainees at the moment, 22. Bounces between, last couple of years, it's bounced between 22 and 28. Up from like 11 in the first quarter of 2022. So the next slide is actually hearing aid testing data. So this is the test that we administer here, and it's pretty small for me to read, but you can go over that. And
Trampus?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I hate to interrupt. Is there any way you could share the screen? I have just a couple of comments I need to make on that. I don't know if it's possible for you to do that.
I don't think I have that up on my computer. Hold on. I can get it though. Just take me a second. Guess I could have been doing this all along.
No, sorry, I was going to do it with mine, but I can't seem to get my Teams to work right today, so I had to log in on my personal Teams account.
Get down to the, oh, no, this is not, this is just the agenda.
While he's getting that ready, just let me address the issue and you can kind of see it. So there's a few ways to view the tests. We can do it in just a general grouping of practical and written and see the overall summary of those numbers. The issue with expanding it out to give the information on each particular test is that you end up with a gigantic spreadsheet. And it's readable, but it's a lot of information on one page. So my question for the board is, are there specific tests that you want to see numbers on, or do you want a summary of just written and practical, or do you want to see everything? And you'll have to, Trampus, I think, scroll down to the test part.
I'm getting there.
If you get there.
There
Okay,
we go.
so what I've done here, folks, is there's a summary of just the written exams. That's not every written exam, and then practical exams, I broke them out. So if that's okay, we can leave it like that. If you want to see more information on anything, I can, or however you would like that information presented to you for future board meetings.
This is Chelsea. I was wondering if does somebody have to pass every section of the practical exam or a certain percentage to pass overall?
That I don't know.
So
would have
this
to
is-
talk to the specialist.
Yeah, this is Carrie. So yes, they do have to pass every part of the practical in order to pass that part of it. And then they do have to pass IHS, I believe it's called, as well as our laws and rules.
Something else too to remember is that when you see the pass fail, that's not a count of people, that's a count of how many times the test was taken. So if you were to look at P4, somebody who failed could have gone back and taken again and passed. So that would account for a 1 on each of the pass and fail. So it's just a count of how many times the test was taken.
Chelsea, again, I'm
Hey,
satisfied
Carrie.
with the information here. Curious to hear what other people think.
It's all about what you guys want. So I can adjust this a bunch of different ways. So I just want to make sure you guys get the information you need.
Did you have a question, Doug?
Yeah, our conversation, would it be simpler to break it down to certain, a little bit, make it easier for the state? Because a lot of people don't know what P1, P2 is. I mean, even though it says earmold testing, did that person pass this time or did not pass? I mean, that's what I wouldn't mind looking at. I mean, if it would make it easier for the person doing the spreadsheet, that'd be great. And if we want to go into further detail, that'd be fine.
I've originally, when I did this report, it just gave the number, and then Carrie came over and said, "Hey, can we put the name of the test in?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's great." If the public, if this information, if you want the public to know more about what the test is, I can talk to Carrie, and we could include a summary page at the bottom of each testing page. One page down, and describe briefly what the test is. Or if they have if it's a one-off or we don't get that many, we could just verbally tell them. But again, it's whatever you guys want. I don't get a lot of questions. If somebody has, because I do our public records requests and statistical requests, I very rarely, if ever, get any questions about what the exam is in detail, because the people who would be asking that already know. So but it's whatever you guys think is what you need.
Well, my concern would be, I'm only concerned about what section are they failing? Because there are some improvements we need to do, but what is the issue with that section, and why are they failing it? Is my concern.
That I totally get. I would have to, again, pass that off to a board specialist. I am simply pulling the numbers so that you can see what's a pass fail. But if you look at the numbers and want to see like what's being passed and failed the most, you can go look over the numbers. If you want me to highlight, for instance, if you wanted me to highlight in there, hey, this particular test seems to be the biggest issue, we can do that. But there's also the case of you might see one with more fails, but you might see more people taking it. So, the more people that take it, the bigger chance there is somebody's going to fail it. So I don't know. That's why presenting it like this versus a summary, I mean, if there's a particular piece you're concerned about, breaking it down in detail like this is good. If you just want to see overall, the pass fails for practical exams, then just 2 rows is good. So just whatever you guys want.
Go ahead, Peggy.
Okay.
So my question is, can I read this then, Nate, saying on P3 of the first quarter that's there, that one person passed after failing it 3 times, and that below that 2 people passed after taking it 4 times?
No, not really. So basically what it's saying is the test was taken 4 times. Out of the times that test was taken, there were 3 fails and 1 pass. Now, what it could say is 4 people took it, 3 failed, 1 passed, or 3 people took it and 1 took it again and passed. The problem is, in order to give you a better count, I would have to probably, and I can try it, but I would probably have to list out names and show how many times they took it, because that'd really be the only way to break it out. I'd have to have a list of names, and it would say pass, fail, which I
So
could
is
do, but
another way to look at this to say that of the practical exams that were given 22 times, if you have to pass all the different sections, only one person was able to pass that practical? It says pass up top 15, but if
I'm
only
looking
one
right
person
now.
passed P3, how can there be 15 passes?
So at the top, that's a summary, and I normally I like to see a summary at the bottom, but because of how the spreadsheet's designed right now, I put it at the top so that I can expand and contract. So basically, it's saying in quarter 1, the test was taken, the test, the practical exams, a summary, they were taken 22 times, or 22 practical exams given. Out of that 22 times it was given, there were 7 failures and 15 passes. I don't know if that's, a total of 15 people or a total of 22 people. I just, there's no way for me to know that without breaking it down by name.
Yeah, this is Carrie. So to add to that, it gets kind of complicated because this could be a carryover from the quarter before that as well. So it's because a retake can be, some retakes can be whenever they want, up to a certain amount of times. Some retakes like B and C. So the second and third section, masking and audiometric testing, those specifically have to be administered by a proctor. So those are administered only on the practical dates. All the other sections I can actually redo if they are needing to be redone anytime. So that's also where it gets complicated, because some of these in 2022, or that took it in 2022, didn't retake anything until 2023. So that can also throw off your numbers, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess, but the number of practical exams of past 15 is a total of the individual exams taken, but it doesn't say how. I think for me, what would be helpful is how many people passed all of it, or is it not? It's not required to pass all of it all at once.
Yeah, it's not required to pass all of it all at once.
I see.
I mean, you could look at P1B, and it doesn't appear that anybody failed that section of the practical exam, and the total number of exams that have been administered for the 2 years here, or for the entire graph here, is 27. So everybody who took that passed it. So we could probably kind of glean from that around 27, this chart kind of gives us an idea of what 27 individuals probably went through, maybe. And the higher numbers that are the more areas that had to be retaken. So for example, P3, hearing aid fitting and selection, that has been taken the most times. So it probably is due to retakes that has been taken the most times. So that might give you, I don't know, there probably aren't exact numbers. Like 27 is the exact number of individuals who took tests because of spillover and things like that. But probably the higher the number on that last column, grand total, the more often that section's getting, people are failing that section.
And there's really no way for me to track without this graph getting really complicated. Hey, this person failed this in 22 and they retook it in 23. I mean, now you're going to be having a huge spreadsheet of information. And, after a while, it just turns into a big number salad, and it's really hard to glean any useful information from it.
Peggy Kelly, have a newbie question. So how is this exam administered one time for life, or are there continuing re-upping of this exam for this?
I believe this is only administered one time in order to get their permanent license.
Okay. Is there any continuing education requirements for this license?
Yes.
Okay. I'll orient myself to that better before the next meeting.
No worries. It's all new. Thank you for your questions, though. Go ahead, Travis. Or Vlad. I saw you unmuted.
Oh, I just believe that without being able to list the retakes, making it, so complicated, being able to, do that without going through all the names, I feel like this graph is as good as it gets.
Perfect. Thank you.
Carrie, this is Doug.
Mm-hmm.
So would it be hard to add to it, the names and how many times they took the test and failed?
No,
I mean,
I can give you a list of names. Honestly, what happens is just, let me reference another board. Cosmetology facilities, I'm sorry, let me back up. Cosmetology schools are required to submit a list of information about pass-fail students that have attended their school. In that list is a list of names. It takes but about 3 keystrokes to change it from a cause facility to has testing. There will be, the problem I just want to emphasize is, although technically that can be considered a public record, now you have a board report with a bunch of people's names in it. Now I could anonymize the names and just say student 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and do that. But that's just something to keep in mind.
Okay.
This is Chelsea. I would agree that it would be unfair to have someone's record of failure if they are ultimately granted license.
But I can anonymize the name. So if that's something you want to see, hey, I see this student 5, took it, 3 times and failed twice or whatever, then, that can be done. But again, if you're going to do that for 5 different tests, now you're going to have student one with 6 or 7 different lines for testing.
Yeah. So as a proctor, Doug, I find that some people get a echo. There we go. Well, I find that, some people will fail the section again, and I'm just wondering, what is going on? And some of it's, it's in the book, but what are they missing? Why are they missing it? And is the trainer actually properly training them? So that's kind of my reason why I'd like to see it. Maybe it's more of a personal thing. I don't know, but somewhere down the line, I would love to, try to put something together where I think Heather at one point was helping cosmetology people after the fact. If they failed and they were having trouble areas, she'd kind of go over it with them and help them out. But I don't know. Maybe that's down the line.
Well, and again, I can, I can highlight the test that's passed and failed the most. I mean, I guess theoretically every test should have the same number of students, but again, with carryover and such, the more times a test is taken, the more times chances are for failures. But I can try, if you want a list, I can anonymize the students and do a list that way, just whatever you want.
So I think that what Doug is referencing is the study reviews that we do for cosmetology. I don't believe that's in the statutes or rules for HAS. So if that's what you're referencing, Doug, that might be like a type of rule change that we add, and that's Heather Vogelsong's side of it.
Exactly, I know.
And
It's mainly something maybe we can do down the line, possibly.
okay.
I just find you see the pattern, I see the pattern. And,
Gotcha.
we want these people to succeed. We don't want them to continually, fail. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Todd, go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I just had a sort of a newbie question as well. What was the impetus for creating this chart? What was what were we hoping to gain from collaborating this data?
Well, I think we have an echo again. Sorry. Okay. I think we're good. Every board that has tests, we provide testing data. This is a standard format we've been using for providing testing data. And again, it's not perfect, but it seems to be the most digestible without getting a huge graph. Just every board has wanted to know about pass-fail rates. So it's just something we do for every board report for every board that has tests.
So it's just posterity then, right?
Well, sorry, I'm getting an echo again. Boards have wanted to, like you have mentioned earlier in this conversation, see which tests are having the highest fail rate. Like, for instance, the Barber test for cosmetology seems to be a very difficult test to pass. Like, it's got the highest fail rate. So, that's an indicator maybe that either A, we need to look at our tests, or B, we need to make sure the schools are, teaching the information that's being tested on. So that's basically what it's for. It's a trend. So that's kind of the impetus for that.
Then are decisions being made to change the testing protocols to improve success rates, or?
And Carrie, you can interrupt me if I'm wrong,
yeah.
but I mean, my understanding looking at the numbers is, there's 2 ways to do it. Again, either change the test, but you don't want to change the test so much that you're, licensing people that shouldn't be licensed. So maybe it's a matter of education. But Carrie, I'm sorry, you can probably address this better than I can.
Short answer is yes. basically we're looking at what sections they're failing the most. And then, like you said, with the barber exam, then you either have to go back to the trainers, like Doug was talking about, or back to the schools in regards to cosmetology to see where the shortfall is and see if we need to review our test or theirs, basically.
So then, just for my information, using this chart as you've described, it would be helpful just to see a number of unique users.
That's yeah, absolutely. I can put a summary at the bottom and say total amount of testers for a certain period. That's certainly easy enough to do. So if you'd like the graph to say like in quarter one, 2022, there were this many people that tested. That's certainly not a problem. If that'll help clear it up, that would be easy enough to do. Is that something you'd like me to put on the chart?
Yeah, this is Doug. Yeah, I think that would be pretty appropriate. I just want to go into huge detail.
Totally agree, because then you'll be able to see, you'll be able to see an exact count. Now, it won't break it down per person, but that's something we'll know when somebody comes in and it's like, hey, I can't seem to pass this test. I need a study review or whatever. But yeah, I'll put that down on the next board report and make a note of that. I may actually add that to all the board reports. That's an excellent idea.
Perfect. Thank you, Nate.
No problem. Thank you guys very much.
All right. Any more discussion about this slide, or should we move on to the next one? All good?
Let's move on.
All right. So, now it's too big. So this is your fiscals. This is the amount of revenues and expenditures, and it's broken out by biennium. And at the top is the beginning cash balance. So that's like what's in your bank. And then the revenues that you're taking on. Of course, that last one is an incomplete biennium, so the numbers are going to be just July through now of this year. So they're not going to be the same. And you can see that revenues and expenditures are close. You've been using a little bit more than you have been bringing in for the last couple of years, but your balance is still good. You still have quite a bit in your cash balance. So, and then underneath that is just some information on how we allocate expenses at this office. So especially for the new folks, this is kind of an umbrella agency or umbrella office. We have several boards and councils and programs that we operate for, and each board or program council has to be basically self-supporting. So their revenue should be supporting their expenditures. And but we have a lot of shared, people don't just work on one thing here. I'll work on all the boards, and certain licensing specialists will work on certain boards and not others. And so there's this overall shared assessment for the entire office. And it is always getting tweaked a little bit, but you are about at 0.4% of, so you pay for 0.4% of the whole office. And then the small board assessment. Most of the small boards are basically anything other than cosmetology. I think maybe BAP, body art might be not considered a small board, but I think the rest of everybody else is considered a small board. You are considered a small board. You have a lot of licensees, but compared to like cosmetology, we have something like 50,000. It's a little different. We also have certain people that work only on the small board. So of that small board assessment, you are allocated about 2%, 2.4 to to 2%, and it looks like it's actually gone down a little bit since 2022, probably because we got more boards. Could be a lot of different things that go into that calculation. So that is your shared assessment. So that's kind of where your expenditures come from. And then you have, direct expenses that that happen as well. If you had a hearing or a case or something like that went to a hearing, that would be assessed directly on this board. So does anybody have any questions about the fiscal statistics here? All right.
No.
Moving on to, did I hear something? Moving on to the regulatory report. So this is the regulatory report. It has two biennium on it, the 2021 biennium and then the 2023 biennium. So one thing that you will note on this one is it actually doesn't have the current biennium. So these are actually statistics that go through July 2023. I do know that we have received like 2 or 3 cases since then. The numbers are current. As for what is open and closed, it's just those 3 or newer cases aren't reflected on this report. So just know that. So we have in total had 45 cases come in for those 2 biennium, of which we've closed 31 of them. So we have 14 currently open cases. I think one of those open cases is considered open, but in the process of going to be reviewed. So that is that. But you can see that that's basically what we've got going on. Nothing super old. You got one kind of hanging on from 2021, but complaint types. So the different kind of complaint types for this board really are licensing concerns and services provided. I think those are kind of self-explanatory, but licensing concerns are generally, somebody is operating with an inactive or no license, or operating as a trainee, but they're not being supervised. So those kind of things are licensing concerns. Services provided are if somebody is not happy with the services they were provided, they weren't happy with the fitting or the fit or rescind or something like that. They felt that they should have got their money back or should have been in a rescinded period, but they weren't rescinded. Those kind of things are all services provided, and they can kind of range around there. Complainants by type, anonymous, client, and other. Anonymous, you don't get a lot of anonymous with this board because you definitely have to have a client typically to have a complaint with this group. But if it were to be a licensing situation, so-and-so is working unlicensed, but we just haven't gotten anything that's anonymous in the last couple of years. 19 of the complaints have been directly from clients, and 26 have been someone other than the client. Could be a family member that's complaining on the behalf of another person. Could be a wife or a husband complaining on behalf of their spouse. Could be a medical professional, could be another hearing aid specialist. It could be all kinds of things, but that other is a big pool. But I can say typically that other is a family member on behalf, or some kind of a guardian or a conservator. So, but that is the regulatory report. Does anybody have any questions about this regulatory report? No? Okay. So the next thing we have is public interested parties and feedback. I can read the script if that's okay, because I have it here in front of me. Okay. At this time, the Advisory Council on Hearing Aids will hear public interested parties' feedback. Members of the public, please wait until you have been recognized. Once recognized, please state your name and affiliation to the board for the record. So we do have one person here who would like to, I believe, would like to make a public, some public comment. I guess it's up to Doug to recognize him and allow. I'll allow that to begin. It's Richard. It's Richard Giles. Is that okay with you, Chair?
Doug, you're muted if you're trying to talk.
Oh.
This is Doug. I couldn't hear what was going on there.
I was just
Sorry.
saying that technically you have to recognize Richard to engage in public feedback.
Okay. All right. Mr. Giles, I believe it's your turn to address what concerns you have.
Thank you for having me and giving you some public comment. I came down originally for just one comment, but I'd like to address your proctoring, your hearing exam, the practical section of it. I have some pretty unique knowledge on this since I sat on one of the boards that produced both the written examination that is used, and that's the international licensed examination offered by the International Hearing Society, and the practical examination, which has just been revamped by the International Hearing Society. I'm also a proctor for the state of Oregon, so I was here Monday proctoring for individuals. And I would make a recommendation to the council that they look at adopting the international licensing exam for the practical section of it. I can tell you that everyone able to hear me?
Slightly choppy, but yes.
Oh, they said you might be choppy, but
Yeah, it's choppy, yeah.
Okay, maybe I can, is this any better if I move the microphone closer?
Yes.
Okay. Let me start again. My name is Richard Giles. I'm a licensed hearing aid specialist in Oregon since 1986. I'm a licensed hearing aid specialist in the state of Washington since 1982. I am currently semi-retired. I practice in Vancouver, Washington, and past president of the Oregon Hearing Society from 92 to 94, past president of the Washington Hearing Society from 2019 to 2021, past president of the International Hearing Society 2017 to 2019. As such, I also sat on the education committee for the International Hearing Society for about 10 years. Was on that committee that actually developed the original practical examination for the International Hearing Society, which is fairly similar to the current examination that is used in Oregon. I do proctor the Oregon examination. I was here on Monday proctoring for individuals. And I must say that the current examination, the way it is probably not psychometrically valid. In other words, people who do well on one section do poorly on another section. And I think part of that is the way that the examination was originally developed. I would make a recommendation to the council to seriously consider signing on to the International Hearing Society practical examination. A lot of these issues that you've talked about over the last half an hour or so would be pretty much solved by doing that. IHS grades the examinations, sends out notifications to the state agency and also to the individual, and provides the detailed reports on who's passed what section has failed. The current examination, from my experience, testing archaic knowledge that does not apply to today's modern hearing aids. And because of that, if the state of Oregon was ever sued for a licensing examination failure, you would have, I think, a very difficult time, excuse me, defending that in court. That is not what I came to talk about originally, but I make that recommendation to you. What I came to talk to you about is the recent passage of Senate Bill 558, which is a bill that was passed under emergency rules to address the over-the-counter hearing aid distribution around the nation and in the state. And I'm going to, I don't know if everyone has seen this or not, but I'm going to read directly from this. Section 1 is talking about dealing in hearing aids. And it means the sale, lease, or rental, or attempted sale, lease, or rental, or ordering the use of hearing aids in conjunction with the evaluation or measurement of the powers, the range of human hearing, and the recommendation, selection, or adaptation of hearing aids. Hearing aid means any prosthetic device, instrument, or devices designed for or represented for aiding, improving, or correcting defective human hearing, and any part, attachments, or accessories of such an instrument or device. Hearing aid goes on, does not include, and there's a whole list of things, and one of those things is over time. That being said, I would like to request that the Oregon Advisory Council for Hearing Aids remove probably immediately, or at least in interim rulemaking, chapter 331 -470-010, section 11. That section is dealing with the use of tinnitus masters and the adaptation of tinnitus masters and tinnitus management for care. I can make this as short or as detailed as you'd like. I value your time, and in the interest of that, most of the people on the board, I think, are aware of the tinnitus issue that is in Oregon. Has been prohibited for a hearing aid specialist to activate tinnitus management without the direct prescription from a licensed physician, whether that physician is licensed in obstetrics or general practice or neuropathology. Doesn't make any difference. They are required to give a detailed prescription, frequency by frequency, dB by dB, the adaptation of tinnitus management for hearing. Without going into further detail, are there questions to this point from any of the board members?
This is Doug Walsh. One thing I'll address, one thing I have ran across over the last several years since we've been dealing with this tinnitus issue is I've had existing patients seen by our people who actually turned on the tinnitus master when it was actually legal. And they wanted to come back and get some adjustments on it, which we can no longer do. So I have to refer them out to someone else, audiologist, and they won't go. They just won't deal with it. Or they'll turn it on and just turn off the feature later on. But, you know, I was trained in tinnitus, you know, just turning it on and off and making adjustments a long time ago. And I never had a problem. And I don't think I've ever ran into anybody that made a complaint about it. So, you know, this issue, this is part of a hearing aid that it's a tool. And I don't know why we are not able to do some adjustments on that. So, I don't know.
Vladimir Gutierrez here. I absolutely agree with Richard and Doug. I think it only delays care for people who, you know, want access to this technology, and it makes it more complicated for them to get it.
This is Todd Williams. I'd also like to make a point that the care for tinnitus, the strategies that have become modern and useful for tinnitus management are more current than most audiologists' education in tinnitus. And so it's perceivable and possible for a hearing aid instrument specialist to get the same training, if not better, than an audiologist would have had from school 5-10 years ago. And I think it'd be helpful if the board could come up with a end road to allow hearing instrument specialists to gain the the training if needs be in order to incorporate this into hearing aid care.
Yeah, and we also agree with, I'm sorry, go on.
Okay. Hey, Rick, doesn't IHS have a class that deals with this?
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
IHS has a hearing, a tinnitus management course that it offers. It is now offered online. It's relatively inexpensive. And it goes into great detail some of the conditions that result in tinnitus. Tinnitus is a symptom, it's not a disease. And the vast majority of people who have tinnitus also have hearing loss, although there are people with tinnitus that do not have hearing loss. There are people with hearing loss that do not have tinnitus. The way that I read the new and gross bill back about a year or two ago, when the International Hearing Society was petitioning the Oregon Health Division to remove that rule, we were told that in order to do that, it requires a legislative change. That legislative change just took place in Senate Bill 558 when it addresses the release, sale, or ordering the use of hearing instruments. The portion of the law that says that correcting effective human hearing, any parts, attachments, or accessories of such an instrument or device, the tinnitus management feature in hearing aids is an accessory or part of the device. So the rule as it stands right now is in direct violation of Senate Bill 558. And the law specifically is ORS 694.015. Because the legislature decided that this was declaring an emergency, that's why I would encourage the health division to immediately suspend the section in question and then have open a rulemaking process in order to have it removed officially.
And two other quick little points. Todd Williams again. About 10 years ago, before this was something that we couldn't any longer do in our practices, Robert Sweeto, member of the School of Otolaryngology at the University of San Francisco, used to do a clinic to teach audiologists and hearing instrument specialists how to manage tinnitus using hearing devices and things. So that was some time ago. But the other point of it is that even without the hearing devices using the tinnitus maskers, iPhones have tinnitus maskers built into the phone itself. And so this is creating another sort of a gray area. Are we supposed to advocate for users to absolutely not use their iPhone maskers, or what's the clarity on some details there?
Well, Todd, I think this is Doug. You have a very valid point. I've ran into this quite a few times where their devices are masking their hearing aids. And it's like, because the hearing, it just doesn't make sense. There is a conflict, I feel, but again, I'm on board with Rick Giles.
This is Chelsea. I have a procedural question. So I'm not sure if the board is really able to make these kind of line item adjustments. So do we know what the process would be if there is legal agreement that the new Senate bill is in conflict with prior statutes?
I believe you're correct. We're going to have to go through another process because
Yes,
it was already. Go ahead.
Sorry, this is Carrie. And I believe that Anne, the actual board analyst, and Heather Vogelsong will have conversations about that.
So I certainly can furnish the council with documentation about what tinnitus is, the mitigation or the management of tinnitus. And Doug brought up a valid point. The council is going to have to vote to remove that section in an open rulemaking process. But I do believe that given the conflict with the new law from the Oregon legislature, that the health division has the authority to suspend Section 11 immediately until further rules can be developed.
I have just a general question. As an otolaryngologist, it's not one of my favorite diagnoses to have a patient walk in and say they have tinnitus. It's a fairly extensive evaluation in order to make sure they don't have a big tumor in their head or some such thing that's causing it. And I don't know what somebody presenting to you with hearing loss and tinnitus, which usually is not something other than the nerve being irritated, what diagnostic training you guys have or are able to do, and wonder if that may be where the reason for having a somebody sign off on it originates.
To probably answer that question during our audiometric workup, we are required to refer for any of the red flags that would indicate any type of growth or tumor on the eighth cranial nerve. It's part of our training, and it's part of the requirements that we have for licensure.
So that is a medical, this is Doug, that is, a medical referral to ENT. And once they get cleared, we're good to go, but that's as far as we go right now with tinnitus.
Okay. This is Carrie. Thank you, Rick, for all of that. If you could send that information or whatever information you have to Ann Thompson, the board analyst. And then that way she can talk with our AAG, Heather Vogelsong, about it as well.
Okay, and the reason this was brought up initially is because the recent change in legislation was recommended by the council previously.
Yes. Yep. Yep. If you could put all that in an email for her, she will discuss that with the AAG. Heather.
Well,
thank you.
Allowing me to comment.
Yep. Thank you.
Session, so I'll step out.
All right, well, thank you. Okay, so the next thing on the agenda is other council business. So that is the last thing we have to do on the agenda before we go into executive session. Is there any other council business that anybody wanted to talk about? Well, then I can read the script into going out from public session into executive session. Doug, if you want me to do that, I can do that.
Yes, sir. Please.
All right. I will do it. So the
Okay,
advice.
I was going to say it'll just take me a second to stop the recording, and then everyone's screens will flash, and then you'll be entered into a different room. So just FYI.
Yeah, so I'll read this and then we'll get it all switched over. I gotta close the door and stuff too, so.
Trampus, we can't hear you. No.
No sound.
No.
Are we still on?
Yes, for some reason, Trampus's mic
Oh.
went out.
Okay. It's pretty darn quiet there. Gosh.
He's going to go out and come back in.
All right. People hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
I can.
Yes.
I don't know. Sometimes you just got to turn it on and off again. Okay. So I will read the script now. The Advisory Council on Hearing Aids will now meet in executive session pursuant to ORS 192-6602F and ORS 676590 for the purpose of considering information or records exempt from public inspection, investigation cases. At 10:32 a.m. on October 13th, 2023. Representatives of the news media shall be allowed to attend the executive session. The public will be moved to a separate breakout room for the duration of the executive session. Are there any representatives of the news media on MS Teams? No. Recognizing there are no news media in attendance, the public will be moved into a separate breakout room for the duration of the executive session. We will return to open session before any final actions or making any final decisions. It is estimated that the board will return to public session at 11 a.m. Please be aware that it is possible that the board's executive session may last longer than 10 or 11 a.m. If the public has any questions about whether the board is still in executive session, the public can contact Carrie Edwards at carrie.edwards@oha.oregon.gov. We are now in executive session.